What is your recommendation? What has to be done?
So I think what needs to be done in the policy level is we're going to have to make some sacrifices. We got ourselves into this mess because we wanted to buy cheap stuff quickly. Well, unfortunately, we got in bed with an enemy that's using that back against us as their economic military weapon against the U.S. So what does that mean? I mean, I think that a lot of people aren't going to like this, but I think it means that businesses should not, U.S. companies should not be allowed to do business in China until the CCP reforms its behaviors. Intellectual property theft, U.S. user data theft, their whole mercantilist agenda, that has to stop. And that's going to come at some short-term pain. But unfortunately, that's the price we're going to have to pay in order for having committed 3 decades of this sin of actually getting in bed with an enemy and reliant on an enemy.
So I just want to put a pin in that. In other words, until either CCP falls, because we're the believers of not the legitimate government of the Lao Beijing, but you're now on the record of saying we should have 100% decoupling until either they're removed or they have such a massive reform that they become like one of the liberal democracies of the West. Is that essentially what you're saying, total decoupling?
That is what I'm saying. And I'm not saying it just with some sort of protectionist economic justification, Steve. I'm saying it with a national security justification, because let's wake up to the actual national security threat. It's not a military battle with China. It is an economic war, because in China, economic policy and military policy are two sides of the same coin. We suffer this illusion in this country that somehow the two are different as it relates to China. They're not. And I think that that's going to involve some sacrifice. I mean, other things that we need to do, I could go on and on, but I think accountability for the COVID-19 pandemic is a must, including even using financial levers to do it, including but not even limited to taking a look at the national debt held by China specifically and have some detailed ideas on this. But my general view is that it will require some short-term pain in order to do over the long run what we're going to be required to do as a country. One of the easiest things we can do, and this relates to some of my work too, is abandon this global climate religion that is shackling the U.S. economy while leaving China untouched. I'll give you one example of this from my world, is the BlackRocks of the world that are forcing companies like Exxon and Chevron to drop oil production projects. Guess what? Who's picking up those same projects in the Sichuan province of China? PetroChina's buying up a project that Chevron dropped. Guess who's one of the largest shareholders of PetroChina? It's none other than, you guessed it, BlackRock, who gets a license to be the only foreign seller of mutual funds in China. So that's how this game is played. So that's why I think they're using this as a vehicle to advance their geopolitical goals. That's not capitalism. That is mercantilism. And as long as they're playing the mercantilist game, we can't just pretend, close our eyes, Sununu or whoever else wants us to do it, and pretend like this is true global free market capitalism. We, at least as it relates to China, have to move to total decoupling. As I say it, the Declaration of Independence of 2023 or the Declaration of Independence of 2024 is a declaration of independence from China. It is a codependent relationship. All codependent relationships do not end well. The only question is who ends it first. I think the sooner we end it, the better for us. The longer we wait, the better for them. So let's step up and act, even though it's going to require some measure of short-term sacrifice to do it. That's where I am on the record from a policy perspective of what we need to do. And that gets to my deeper questions about if we revive our sense of American national identity and believe in who we really are, then guess what? We actually have something to make those sacrifices for rather than just going through the motions.